What's up, everybody? It's Jeffrey Lyles, welcoming you to another installment of Lyles Figure Files. You can tell from my shirt, I'm rocking the G.I. Joe periodic chart here. I'm breaking down all of Hasbro's Yojo June live streams for June 8th. And June has quickly become one of my favorite months of the year because every week the G.I. Joe team is bringing out new announcements, making new reveals, and showing off new figures that I can add to my collection. And the best part about the G.I. Joe Classified series is it's so fresh, it's so new, and there's so many characters that basically I'm going to want everything they reveal. And outside of the repaints, but every original, every new character, I'm all about it. And it's just so exciting to see what's coming onto my shelf next. First up, we got two more announcements of pipeline figures. I really love that they're taking a page from the Star Wars Black Series team and doing the pipeline announcements, just letting us know you can cross that figure off of your in-demand top 10 list because it's coming. Last week they revealed that Shipwreck and Rock and Roll were coming. Always a fan of Rock and Roll, the original 13. He has one of the better new outfits with those dual cannon machine guns. It looked amazing and crazy. He had the hat with the bullets around it. But I need my machine gun bullets crisscross around his chest, green helmet, original 13 green before we do that. And Lenny mentioned he's yoked, which may suggest they're going with the secondary look first. I won't mind that. I'll definitely buy that figure if that's the one they choose first, but I really want to pair him up with my Snake Eyes, my Stalker, Scarlet, and I've still got more original 13 figures on my list too. So yeah, definitely want to see Rock and Roll in those OG colors, but I'm really excited about him joining the line. And of course, Shipwreck is another member of my boy Flint's squad. I will put this lineup of Joes against anyone because they have every skill set covered. They've got you mashed on martial artist, master disguise, firefighter, hostile environment, desert trooper, infantry, leader. You've got bridge. We've got toll booth with the bridge layer. So we've got everything covered. And Shipwreck is, of course, the naval sailor guy. He's got you covered on that end. There's no way Hasbro is releasing Shipwreck without Polly. We saw Freedom with Spirit, so I mean, clearly we're gonna get that with Shipwreck. And yeah, I cannot wait to see what he looks like. He's a character that absolutely needs to have a great head sculpt to convey both his kind of serious side and the cartoon portrayal where he was more of the comedic relief, the funny guy, sarcastic. He needs a smirk or smile. I'd be perfectly fine if he came with two head sculpts. So can't wait to see what he looks like. Today's reveals on the pipeline were Copperhead and Torpedo. Torpedoes that second lineup, and that was the one I think where a lot of us who collected that first wave started really getting excited about the possibilities. Like, oh man, okay, I compare this guy in black and gray with a guy who's in all black. And I put Snake Eyes and Torpedo on several missions just because they had sort of similar color schemes. And Hasbro released an awesome update in the 375-inch line. Well, I think it was Pursuit of Cobra. I'm pretty sure that was when they released that great version of Torpedo. Awesome figure, one of the best ones they put out, and I can't wait to see how they translate him into a classified series setup. And hopefully they do the removable mask, keep all that so you can put him on and it stays secure so it doesn't fly off every time you move and turn his head. But yeah, I cannot wait to see what they do with him. Copperhead is another really cool Cobra, and he's not a big league. I'm sitting in with Cobra Commander during the strategy sessions, but he's a vehicle driver that has a name. And the Water Moccasin is one of my favorite Cobra vehicles. I feel like there is an opportunity for some vehicles and vehicle drivers to not require a lot of detail, not require a lot of work. And their vehicle can work in a 6-inch format without being too ridiculously expensive. I think the Water Moccasin is one. It just has that driver pilot seat, and then or exhaust fan, I guess, is maybe the biggest component to it. But it doesn't have to be but so big. I think that could almost work in the size of the Star Wars Black Series speeders, the speeder bikes. I think that's around the same size. Of course, it's going to be a lot wider, but I would love to see that. That's a vehicle that if I was putting together a top 10 of the G.I. Joe Cobra vehicles I need to see in a classified series, thinking, okay, what's the most practical? What's something they can actually release without it being too off the chain and too expensive? I think that's one that definitely works in that category. So Copperhead, Torpedo, Shipwreck, Rock and Roll. We know they're coming at some point in 2023. That's exciting. But we also got some big, huge news. If you're like me and wants more classified series figures coming sooner, Emily and Lenny revealed today that we're going to get 5 figures each wave. So there won't be any more of these deals where here's 2 new figures, here's 2 repaints, or here's just 2 refreshers of figures they've already released with no changes. So with that Cobra Bat and Alley Viper, they threw in Gung Ho for some reason, and now Gung Ho is just all stuffed on the pegs. We won't have any more of that. We're just going to get 5 figures. That is so exciting because it just expands the roster faster, gives us more opportunities to get more figures, which is all I care about with this line. And we got 5 reveals. A little bit disappointed that we got a couple repaints, but it's just the nature of the line, I suppose. And they're pretty valid repaints. I guess with the way G.I. Joe and Cobra is set up with the old school line, it's alright to pay homage, whatever way you want to pronounce that, to old looks. So the first reveal was Lieutenant Falcon, and I think he has an awesome head sculpt on this prototype reveal. I think they did an amazing job. It gets a little bit of a smirk. I like that portrayal of him a little bit better from G.I. Joe the movie than I do his comic book one, where he was basically just a straight edge Cobra smashing Joe. And this gives him a little bit more personality. And this is the 35th anniversary of G.I. Joe the movie. And I think we're seeing a lot of nods to that with these reveals, including the big one that I think we're going to see later on. No accessories shown with him, but he's got to come with his backpack and his big gun. His backpack with that little radar stem on it as well, antenna. So yeah, Falcon's a great addition to the line. And I'm going to jump ahead to another reveal. Another member of his wave, Outback. This time in classic colors. I was so proud of myself for holding out and not buying those pre-orders of Outback because that figure looked awesome. But I didn't want that version. I wanted classic colors Outback. Just from this render, it looks really good, and I assume we're just gonna have that head sculpt repainted because that head sculpt looked incredible, and so excited to get classic Outback now into the collection. I'm not sure who I want to see next on that 87 squad. Is it Jinx, Tunnel Rat? I would love for them to put in Big Lob early just so we can have him. I know he wasn't a legit character that Hasbro put out at that point, but he was in G.I. Joe the movie, and so he cuts the line in terms of priorities for me, and his running commentary made him such a fun character. So we got those 2. Now on to the repaints. We got the G.I. Joe Marauders version of Barbecue. This subset, I think we're going to see Spirit soon because he was a member of that squad as well. Never really a big fan. I never really dug any of the subset repaints of characters. I felt back then it was just a cheap way to get these figures out again with wacky colors. I don't feel like any time we got a Night Force, we got a Tiger Force, etc., the colors look better than the original. And that's definitely the case with Barbecue. But with Barbecue and Spirit, I think that means Mutt and Junkyard are probably going to be on the pipeline sooner rather than later because they are also members of the Marauders, and that's an easy repaint down the road, whichever way they want to do it. So take that as you will. Next up was a Crimson Bat, and they kind of came up with a storyline that Tomax and Zaymont bought some exclusive Cobra bats and painted them up with the Crimson Guard colors. I suppose, but it doesn't really make a lot of sense for me with how Tomax and Zaymont are more of the smooth acrobatic fighters having to deal with walking tanks that have no control or just running amok through everything. So Definitely not a repaint I'm going to get either. So Marauders Barbecue, Crimson Bat aren't any figures I'm interested in, but let me know what you think about those. But the big reveal was CoverGirl. And again, another character from the second set of Joes, and very prominently featured on the cartoon. And as always, I thought G.I. Joe did a great job with their female characters, where it wasn't this thing where they were the best and the better than every Joe and better than in every situation. They're just regular members of the squad. So I really love them. Love CoverGirl, and it was starting to get to the point where it's like, all right, where's CoverGirl? But with her, much like Copperhead, the Wolverine is definitely something that they could put out in the classified series format. I mean, basically, we just need a cockpit big enough for CoverGirl to fit into, and missile launchers, and a little platform, and it doesn't need to be but so high. We just need it so CoverGirl doesn't look stupid sitting in it. But gotta get the Wolverine because that's one of the better Joe vehicles, and as long as it can stack up a couple Joes that they can just ride along it, like that iconic G.I. Joe issue 16 when CoverGirl got introduced and she and Torpedo, Tripwire, and Gung Ho were going after Destro and Cobra Commander and Major Blood. Hawkeye shot. It's a great issue. Check it out. But yeah, I need a Wolverine, but getting CoverGirl is a great first step. And figure looks really well done. And I was curious, and I guess this isn't necessarily a done deal, but we see her with the shorter hairstyle, and I'm very curious if we're going to get an alternate portrait of her with longer hair, just because that was something that was kind of kept flowing back and forth between different takes of CoverGirl. And she would have the short hair like her original figure shown like that in the cartoon, but in later comic books she had the long flowing hair kind of playing up more of her model deal. I'm fine with the hairstyle they gave her, but I'm curious, like with Lady J, if they want to give us that alternate portrait as well. So CoverGirl's good. We got her. We got Falcon, 2 repaints, and Outback. I guess he's a 3rd repaint, but he's the version that I wanted, so I'm going to give him a pass on that one. So then we got some more reveals of the Sgt Slaughter figure, and they have been very careful not to tell us how he's coming out, how he's going to get revealed. We saw his back, or the side package art, and that looks really good. I noticed we did not see the rear package art, so I am 100% convinced now, and maybe they're just going to prove me wrong later, but I think for San Diego Comic-Con, we're going to get a 2-pack. We're going to get Sgt Slaughter, and we're going to have him facing off with Serpentor. I think Serpentor makes the most sense because I couldn't imagine doing Nemesis Enforcer before any of Cobra Law. But who knows? I mean, like I said, it's the 35th anniversary of G.I. Joe the movie. They announced they're going to have theatrical re-releases of the movie. I may go see it just to watch it in theaters again, because not even again. That's right. G.I. Joe the movie didn't. It came on TV, and long before the internet, it just so happens that I was over my grandparents watching TV and was like, oh my gosh, G.I. Joe is on right now. And for those of you who existed in the pre everything's on cable, not knowing what was on TV and having to look to the little TV Guide magazine and seeing stuff was the only way we knew things. And finding that on TV that Saturday was like mind blowing. Like, oh my gosh, a G.I. Joe movie? This is so cool. So, anyhow, that long extended trip down memory lane aside, we got Sergeant Slaughter, and they showed off some of his accessories, and I think these accessories are great. He has a minifigure, so you can replicate him doing the commercials. That's a really cool touch. His sunglasses come off, and that is so cool for Sergeant Slaughter in this line. His hat also comes off, so we can have those moments like from G.I. Joe 51 where he's fighting Zartan and just escapes, and they knock his hat off, and he's so pissed off because Thrasher used the Thunder Machine to knock his hat off, and Thrasher's upset because he didn't knock his head off. So we got that. The sunglasses come off. He's got his riding crop. He's got pointing hands. He's got gripping hands and punching hands. And Lenny teased that he's going to use it to punch out somebody that we'll see later. That's why I'm thinking it's a 2-pack. And I'm banking on Serpentor just because I feel like that's the way they can get Serpentor out without the immediate demand for his air chariot. We've already seen him tease with the Dr. Mindbender figure, and I think this is an easy way to get Serpentor. Of course, for a San Diego Comic Con set, maybe they just throw in the chariot anyway. Charge us $100 and, chalk it up like that Marvel Legends Mojo set. I think for Sgt Slaughter versus Serpentor and his air chariot set, I could pay more. And I really think that San Diego Comic Con is a great opportunity for some characters that have smaller vehicles, like the like the bike we've seen with Breaker and Baroness. But I think this is a good way to do that. And nice presentation. We've got the G.I. Joe movie connection, and you could do all that. Conversely, they could do Nemesis Enforcer and just save Serpentor for a standalone set, deluxe, because he's got his air chariot or whatever. And Nemesis Enforcer would be huge, big, and his biggest expense would be those wings. Maybe they could borrow those from the Marvel Legends Null figure, or the Venom figure, in that Marvel Legends Venom versus Null set. They've got the wings in house, if you will. So maybe there's a way they could do that, and maybe that's how they put them out. I don't know. Now kind of going back and forth between Nemesis Enforcer and Serpentor. I think Serpentor is more important at this point than Nemesis Enforcer, because then we need Globulus, we need the Crimson Law Guard. So yeah, I'm gonna focus on Serpentor. Serpentor is the one packed with Sgt Slaughter, and I think he's gonna come with his air chariot. We're gonna have a big massive box, and they're gonna talk about how great it is. I think we're gonna see that at the last Yojo June live stream, because they're really hyping it up, building it up, and I think Serpentor alone would be fine. But I think to really get that excitement, this is going to be the first time that they're doing a panel or have stuff on display at Comic-Con. So I think this is the opportunity for them to have a really major killer San Diego Comic-Con exclusive. And I'm already dreading trying to get those pre-orders in to make sure that I get that and not the white screen of death. All right, so that's my choice on that. Now, we also saw another Transformers G.I. Joe mashup, and we got Stalker, and we got an All-Striker. I kind of thought it was a no-brainer that the character, the Autobot revealed here, was going to be Hound, because Hound makes most sense in a G.I. Joe concept. He's already green, but it's actually Bumblebee. And so it's weird because you've got little pockets of yellow, but mostly green because it's All-Striker. And I guess maybe they want to save Hound for a Vamp conversion with Clutch. That would be fine too. And I guess Stalker's a little bit more high profile than Clutch. And the team also teased more figures of this hybrid setup. So hopefully Hound's still coming. I just don't really dig the idea of Bumblebee basically clad in all green. But I like the concepts of these mashup figures, and I think it's really cool, and I'm looking forward to see what they do next. Finally, after they were wrapped up and they teased everything that we're going to see over the next couple weeks, they ended. But they had like a Marvel Studios kind of in-credit deal where they had a teaser with a HasLab and G.I. Joe, and then it said stay tuned. It's like, oh, okay. And I'm hoping this tease is the first one for a Classified Series HasLab, because I'm basically signed up for whatever the heck it is they show. If it's a Vamp with Clutch, if it's a Dragonfly Fly with Wild Bill, I'm there. If it's an All-Striker with Crankcase, ditto. I'm just trying to think of things that could be reasonably done without being supersized. I want to just say a Sky Striker with Ace, but I'm going to keep my expectations down a little bit lower. So Clutch and the Vamp, I think it's definitely something that is doable in a HasLab. I almost feel like that's something they could do at retail. But if they really want to go nuts and just make me go take all of my money, we'll get the Whale Hovercraft with Cutter and maybe throw in Deep Six in his non-scuba gear outfit. Maybe the Shark with Deep Six. There's tons of viable options for a HasLab for the Classified series, but I'm trying to think of something that would be super massive, kind of on that Galactus, Marvel Legends scale, the Sentinel scale, where it's just big and it's kind of like, yeah, that's well worth the money. I think that Sky Striker was about $200, and I'm not quite sure how much more plastic a 6-inch version of a Wolverine, a Vamp would take. And I'm not quite sure if the motorcycles that we've seen in those Target 2-packs have maxed out the extent of what Hasbro can put on shelves anymore. But I'm hoping it's a really great Classified Series vehicle, because yes, all of it. Maybe that's where they put out Serpentor, and they put him in the, make him the HasLab with his air chariot. I'd like to see a little bit more than that, but that's also a possibility. Let me know what you think about these reveals. I'm so excited. Every time we get a Yojo June, I'm so here for it. I want to see everything. I want more announcements, more reveals, more pre-orders. But it's a really great, exciting time to be in the G.I. Joe, and I cannot wait to see what else is coming down the line. Thanks so much as always for watching. This episode of Lyle's Figure Files has been filed.